By the time you guys see this junk, the new Predator anthology series should be out on Hulu, and I've been super excited for it. I've been so hyped, in fact, that I knew I was gonna get a Predator video out today. So I decided to do a video featuring perhaps the most beloved Predator from the franchise, being Wolf from Alien vs. Predator Requiem. And what situation should I put him in? Well, analyzing his original film, it's about a small town that gets infested with monsters, with the infestation getting so bad that the US military just decides to blow the place up at the end. Well, when you say it like that, it kind of reminds me of the Raccoon City incident. So boom, that's today's video. Instead of xenomorphs, Wolf is gonna have to deal with Nemesis, Birkin, hunters, lickers, zombies. So I do think this is gonna be a pretty interesting video, as we have a lot of things that he has to, take on today. And seeing as how Wolf was one of the most renowned Yautja in canon, I'm pretty interested to see if he can take on this gauntlet of threats myself. So if that sounds interesting to you, then I would implore you to stick around. As before that, I want to implore you guys to subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers, nothing too big. So obviously, if you want to sub, then sub up. But if you're old around here, first of all, thank you for the continued support. The channel just hit 2 years in terms of its anniversary, so I want to thank you guys for the prolonged support you guys have been showing me. I can't believe we've been doing this as long as we have. And once again, like the last couple weeks we've been doing, I'm going to hit you guys with a like goal. And if you don't know, if you get the like goal within the hour, I will drop a short today as well. So if you want to see more content out of me, consider it a double upload, then be sure to entertain it. I'm going to go with like maybe 250 likes. If you guys can hit that within the hour, then be sure to expect a short. But with that being said, let's see if Wolf can survive and handle the multiple monsters and beasts that are roaming Raccoon City. Will his skill and prowess ensure his victory, or will the large quantity of beasts and variety of monsters prove to be his undoing? Let's find out. Firstly, let's talk about Wolf's lore, as he's a really renowned predator, as you guys know. So it's only fitting that we talk about his accolades and statements. But before that, we're gonna have to talk about the fact that in Yautja society, killing a xenomorph is pretty much the equivalent to graduating college. It's pretty much seen as your first real big step into becoming a true predator. And in this regard, Wolf is stated to be more than the average predator and a super assassin among the species. There are many statements that would seem to imply that he's one of the most seasoned hunters among his species. Like, I don't think you guys understand, as an elite predator, some of his prey would be like xenomorph queens, pred aliens, as you guys saw in Alien vs. Predator Requiem, and even other bad-blooded Yautja. He's stated to have had countless hunts throughout the galaxy, and he's even stated to be the strongest predator. I'm not sure if that would span all of canon, or if that's a statement limited to all the cinematic iterations of the predator that we've seen. Either way, he's got a lot of stuff that he upscales, so let's get into some actual quantifiable calculations. Off rip, it's important to establish that predators view humanity as a whole as children in comparison to themselves, and this is pretty notable as we have superhuman-esque characters such as Dutch, who can pin people to walls just by throwing knives at them, and he can even hit logs with so much force that they just break among contact. Interesting enough, I want to point out that he broke the log across the skin of a predator, and bro literally no-sold it as well, so that's a wall level feat that the predator gets very, very easily. This level of AP is consistent, as we know in the Predators 2010 film, super predators can endure small building level explosions point blank. And we have starved members of the Jungle Hunter clan that are able to sort of tussle with these same super predators. This is consistent with the fact that in AVPR, he's able to fight on par with the Predalien, with him being able to tear out the Predalien's jaw, and some scans even saying that the two parties were equal in terms of sheer physicals. Keep this in mind, as the Abomination was earlier shown to be able to bust through solid concrete to a small building level yield. So Wolf arguably scales to that level of power, and even then, on top of that, some of his equipment is really busted as well. Like, unironically, he has brass knuckles in the form of his Power Punch Gauntlet, which was made in order for him to just box with characters to the Predalien's level of strength. So in terms of AP, I would have Wolf anywhere between wall to small building level. But his stats can be argued to be a little bit higher via his, weaponry and tech. Similar to his physicals, the Wolf Predator has many statements that just verbatim confirm that his weapons are the strongest among the cinematic predators that we've seen up to this point. Off-rip, plaster casters alone have shown small building level feats. Whether it's the original Predator or even the Predator 2018, they just seem to be in that general range. And keep in mind, Wolf doesn't only have a stronger plaster caster, he has 2 of them. He also has a variety of weapons. I'm just going to throw this scan on screen because frankly it's too much to mention, so just pause it if you want. But some major things include a whip that's made out of a xenomorph's tail. As a cleaner predator, he has a lot of things that is designed to get rid of evidence, whether that's acid that's more potent than xenomorph stuff, and he has an implosion bomb that he uses to destroy alien wreckage here. He also has the standard Predator nuke, and seeing as how his tech should be the most durable, it should be more impressive than the City Armor set of armor, as that was able to endure a prolonged stroke of lightning, which actually yields building levels of energy. So Wolf, you could argue, actually is around building level off of his armor. And there's also once again the fact that he has a power punch gauntlet that just sends concrete flying. Like, I mean, he's really cracked. There's even stuff that says he's the ultimate predator, and seeing as how everything we've talked about is consistent with that, I'm not gonna really disagree. So with that being said, let's just move on to his speed. Off-rip, we have many instances in extended canon that would seem to liken their movements to blurs so fast that the human eye can barely perceive them, granting them subsonic speed scaling. This seems to be fairly consistent as we have out-of-universe guidebooks that liken their speed to lightning, which inherently would be a massively hypersonic speed end, but I mean, even if you want to take it hyper literal, that's just them saying that, yeah, these guys are pretty fast. Generally speaking, predators scale to xenomorphs, and Wolf can box multiple xenomorphs at the same time, meaning that he should be faster than the ones from the films that can dodge bullets unironically. But at best, Wolf would possess relativistic combat speeds and reaction times, as he can box equally with the Pred Alien, which can dodge plasma casters, which shoot beams like into light, so yeah. Wolf would kind of just scale to that as well. Moving on to his prowess, Wolf is unironically stated to know multiple forms of hand-to-hand combat. He's shown, and I say shown in like quotes by the way because the movie's just so dark, but anyways, he's portrayed to be a pretty skilled fighter. He's shown to be efficient in grappling, boxing, just he can fight. He's got paws. So with that being said, I want to take the time to thank the chat champ as he helped me with this section of the video. Pretty much every major scan you saw during his section came from him in particular. He's got a YouTube channel as well, and he's covered Alien and Predator matchups himself, so after this video, I implore you to check him out. He's a real good one. So with the Wolf Predator covered extensively, let's move on to Raccoon City. I want to start this section of the video by stating that I'm going to be using the OG, like Resident Evil Raccoon City timeline stuff, because I feel like some of the stuff in the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake are a little too cracked for the Predator. Like, Nemesis is a beast in the OG game, but he never becomes a full-on kaiju. So it's for that reason I'm going to be limiting myself by using the OG iterations of the events that happened at Raccoon City. We have a lot of BOWs to cover. I'm not going to cover everything or go into everything indefinitely. Like, I'm not going to spend 2 minutes talking about crows, but generally speaking, this little part of the video will be covering the zombies, hunters, lickers, as well as any other animal BOWs, as I don't think that unless they're particularly big, they should be stronger than a hunter. But really, even the weakest BOWs and groups can take on and, dismember human beings, and this is important as these same regular average people have displayed wall level feats, so that's generally the extent you're gonna get for any of like crows or Cerberus packs. But moving on to the actual zombies now, they're stated to be stronger than humans. Even the most frail corpses are just multiple times stronger than these same average people. And in Resident Evil Code Veronica, which takes place in the general time period of the Raccoon City incident, zombies are shown to be able to endure wall plus level explosions. To get a gauge for the lickers and hunters, however, we're going to have to talk about Crimson Heads, which are basically further mutated zombies. These guys are not in Raccoon City, but they're essentially lickers, as lickers themselves are further mutated zombies. It's just that the strand that infected the Spencer Mansion is a little bit different than the one that got into the water supply of Raccoon City. But overall, they should be comparable. This is important as Crimson Heads can one-shot normal zombies, granting them arguable small building level ends of attack potency. Lickers as essentially the same thing, would upscale to similar ranges of power. And then on top of that, Hunters should be stronger than Lickers as they're just beefier. So yeah, how would Wolf deal with this first wave of enemies? As while there are heavy hitters that we're going to talk about in a second, these are essentially 90% of the things that he's going to encounter for the most part. And he'd do fine, as arguably he's a lot more skilled than characters who survived this incident, such as Leon, who's a rookie cop, and Claire Redfield, who's just a college student. Not to imply that there was any luck in their situations, but the Predator is such a stronger, faster, and more skilled character that I'm inclined to believe that he could handle forces that regular human-esque characters can situationally handle. I don't think any of the zombies individually should give him an issue. And if you really think about it, Lickers are just worse xenomorphs. And while yes, if any large crowd of these BOWs were to somehow catch him lacking, he could probably get overwhelmed, but I think he's way too smart and just way too capable for that to ever happen realistically. And we know in the OG game, these guys aren't really in large groups to the point where I think that's feasible. But what about the bigger threats, such as Birkin, Mr. X, and yes, even Nemesis? The easiest way to get a general gauge of AP for these three titans is to upscale them the original Tyrant from Resident Evil 1 Remake. And he has a pretty good feat in which he was able to bust through the ceiling of a building, which grants him small building level AP. I also want to point out that the same sequence features him deflecting actual rocket launchers, so yeah, that's quite the baseline for Birkin, Mr. X, and of course Nemesis. Of these three parties, I would assume that Mr. X is the weakest, as without even using the showing from the remake and just going off the original game, he's a lot easier to put down, at least temporarily, opposed to William Birkin. And then Nemesis is just Nemesis. You can also get these guys a lot higher if you're going to go with the logic that Resident Evil bullets are way stronger than real life bullets. And I know it sounds ludicrous on paper, but you got clips like this and it doesn't become so far-fetched. This instance right here is around building level when Tyrants can take on dozens of prolonged gunfire before, being put down. And to be honest, I think that this is where the Wolf Predator stops for the most part. I could see him taking down Mr. X, to be honest. He's got enough stuff in his toolkit that I think that he can at least situationally beat him. Like, as an elite Predator, he can take on Xenomorph Queen, so I think that he can take on even a mutated final form Mr. X, but once you get to guys like Birkin and especially Nemesis, it just becomes almost hopeless. But why is this the case? Well, once again, we've established that each individual bullet is around building level. Birkin needs entire rounds of ammunition in order to temporarily put him down, and even then he can just mutate. Realistically, I think that if Wolf were to save his implosion bomb for this guy right here, that's a potential win con, because that gets rid of him in his entirety. Yeah, it's a very situational win con, and I'm not going to even say that he would have that on deck by the time he gets to someone like Birkin, but it's a win con nonetheless. But Nemesis is just an entirely different beast, as in the OG game, he needs multiple shots from this railgun in order to be put down. This railgun, unironically, has large building to city block level AP, and on top of that you have to weaken him with dozens of building level bullets for the thing to really take effect. Like, if you don't shoot him enough times with building level bullets, he can actually endure a large building level shot and not die. That only gets worse if you give it that city block level calculation that exists. And I think at that point, it just becomes a little bit too ridiculous. And yeah, I think the implosion bomb could do some damage, but we're just getting super situational now. Like, he either uses it at Birkin or he uses it at Nemesis. And if he doesn't use it at Birkin, I think that's where he stops. So, and there's also the fact that Nemesis, unironically, is consistently much faster than the Predator. And yeah, I gave a relativistic scaling chain for the Yautja, but you have relativistic scaling ends that exist in Resident Evil. I just didn't go over them. Like, no-name humans from spin-off titles unironically have shown relativistic combat speeds and reaction times. So Nemesis would logically upscale that, as he's able to press members of stars. And even if we don't use that high-end stuff, characters from Resident Evil 3 are just dodging rocket launchers. So while yes, relativistic ends exist for both parties, if we're going to keep it consistent and more realistic, Nemesis is a lot faster than the Predator. But don't feel too bad for Wolf. as a cleaner, he lives up to his duty with his ultimate trump card, that being his wrist nuke. Even if he were to lose to any of these guys, he literally has a win con to get rid of everything. It just costs him his life. As seeing as how he has the most powerful attack, his nuke should be stronger than all the nukes that we've seen all throughout canon. The one from AVP is around small town level, the one from the OG film is actually town level. So ironically enough, similar to canon, it would probably share the same fate of just getting nuked, but this time by a lone cleaner instead of the corrupt government. So to answer the question of this video, I think that yes, the Wolf Predator could clean up Raccoon City. It would just cost him his life and the entire city in the process, but hey, I think Wolf would be content with a job well done, as he would have his pride intact on the way to heaven.